just 2 sleeps away from week 1. The NFL's biggest season starts on Thursday nights. We're going to break that down right here at the breakfast table all show long. Scott Pioli joining us. We've got angry runs. We've got fantasy, of course, the players that I'm riding or crying with.
Oh, you're crying
all season long, probably. Cry once or twice during the season, sure. At GMFB with your tweets. This is Good Morning Football. We are pleased to be presented by our new sponsor, Old Trapper Beef Jerky. Very happy to have you as part of our family here in New York. It's Tuesday, September 7th. My name's Kay Adams, Peter Schrager, Kyle Brandt here, Michael Robinson, all week long. And are you excited for some football?
Yeah. 2 days.
Like Adam Thielen levels of excitement?
Adam Thielen can't wait for his 2021 Vikings. He did not watch our prediction segment, which none of us predicted the Vikings to go to the playoffs, but we'll do AFC later and maybe we'll make up for it.
AFC predictions on the docket. Who do you think wins the AFC? As these guys are, what is it? Don't drug test us. Don't tell us.
Don't tell us we should be fired. Don't tell us you should have our job. Don't ask us what we're smoking. It's just
Kyle, you put the Eagles in the playoffs.
That's right.
Let's go.
You left the Cowboys out of the playoffs.
No stars in my world.
All right, let's talk about some of the stars. It'll be on the field in week 1. It's time for the lead block.
Lead block.
Let's do it. Welcoming in lead block. Tom Pelissero joining us. Tom, welcome to the program and happy kickoff week to you. The Ravens already lost J.K. Dobbins for the season. Let's talk about the AFC. More bad news for the Baltimore backfield?
Well, Kay, the Ravens are now searching for options after they lost another running back to a season-ending injury. This time it is one of their backups, Justice Hill, who suffered a torn Achilles just days after they lost J.K. Dobbins to that season-ending torn ACL. And Baltimore had some familiar names in the building as they looked for options at that position. They had a workout on Monday that included 3 running backs. Le'Veon Bell was one, Devontae Freeman, as well as Elijah Holyfield. Bell, of course, an interesting one, former AFC North nemesis with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who has had a tumultuous year. He was cut at his request by the New York Jets, joined the Kansas City Chiefs, was basically a bystander during their Super Bowl run, ripped Andy Reid on the way out the door. Still only 29 years old. And apparently Bell still does want to play. Devontae Freeman, meanwhile, the longtime Atlanta Falcon, was released by the New Orleans Saints during roster cuts. Right now, the Ravens have only 2 healthy running backs on the roster, Gus Edwards and Tyson Williams. In happier news for the Ravens, they agreed to terms on a 4-year, $56 million contract extension with their star tight end, Mark Andrews. He is now one of the NFL's highest paid tight ends. No tight end in the NFL has more touchdown catches over the past season, 2 seasons, than Andrews with 17, and nobody has caught more balls from Lamar Jackson, who, of course, is in line for his own big payday. Okay?
Top 5 tight end for my fantasy rankings. Thank you so much, Tom Pelissero, for the outline there. Some bad news, but some good news for those Ravens. And we'll be talking to you throughout the morning here on GMFB. Now, elsewhere in the AFC North, what a matchup, guys. Week 1, the Browns. They'll have their hands full. They get to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. We, of course, know how things ended in the AFC, in the playoffs last year. The track record between these two squads doesn't exactly favor Cleveland. You go back to 2012 for the last time the Browns got a win against KC. That's a long, long time ago, almost 10 years. Wow. And, of course, the Chiefs knocked the Browns out of the playoffs last year. Sunday, they get a rematch. I think this Browns team has been stewing. They have been waiting to just get revenge, and they get it right out the gates. Why is week 1 going to potentially be different for the Browns this time around?
It's simple for me. I've seen some development from Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to have a bigger jump this year. He has consistency in the play caller for the first time in his entire career. And what I love about Kevin Stefanski is he sticks to the run. You guys hear me say this all the time. Being ignorant about running the football, sometimes you got to be ignorant about running the football. And I know we're talking about Baker Mayfield, but Baker Mayfield gives some of his most explosive passes off play action. When they were rocking last year and they had 11 wins and things like that, but Baker Mayfield's completion percentage was above 60 because they were moving the line of scrimmage and the play action actually was a viable option for them in the passing game. And this year, I think with the consistency in play calling, Baker Mayfield's going to have to win 2 or 3 games with just his
Okay, all right.
I think he's ready for it. I do. Contracts coming up, all of those things. He's going to get paid. They have their franchise quarterback in Cleveland. This year is the year that Baker Mayfield shows everybody, we can win off just my arm, not just off the offensive line and our running backs.
He went about 2.5 months last year without throwing an interception, and everyone thinks he's a gunslinger. He's not. He's really good. I also have to say one other thing. this is just off the top of my head here. It's prediction week here. We're all going around making our playoff predictions. Everything. I got sent a clip from somebody else on some other show who's making this very passionate case about this team in the NFC, and they're going to go places. And at the end, they go, "Don't be surprised." No. It's not don't be surprised week. It's not you could make a case week or arguably I might take up for the team or don't.
If you're taking them, take them.
Take them. Don't say you'd be surprised. If there's no half measures. That's for the other 51 weeks there. This week you go in. Thank you. We'll get into the Cleveland maybe with the AFC picks. However, this is very simple. I don't think, we've talked about this for years. I don't think you can stand up and trade touchdowns with the Chiefs, even if it's right. I just don't think you can. And I think teams have tried. We got the firepower. The Ravens have it. They never win. I think Myles Garrett is going to have the Myles Garrett season. I think it's going to be one of the stories of this year. When we look back on it, this was the year Myles Garrett finally became a superstar. I think that's the only way you beat him. Like, I don't believe in blueprints, but we had that conversation after the Super Bowl. Everybody did. Is that the blueprint? You got to hit Mahomes. You got to chase him. There's no blueprint.
It looks like they're chasing him there, right?
It looks great. And he got Henny in the playoff game. Myles Garrett has played well against Kansas City. We know the upgrades they've made on defense, but listen, I need this guy to turn into Reggie White when they play Kansas City. And if he doesn't, I don't think they can beat him. I think the Chiefs are still that good and still that much in their prime. Myles Garrett needs to be Defensive Player of the Year against Kansas City, or I still think it's the Chiefs. That's it.
You know, it's like the annual, who's going to go up against Kansas City and Arrowhead to start the season? Last year at this time, we were talking about the Houston Texans going in on a Thursday night. And we were like, they've got Deshaun Watson, they've got this great young defense, they've got all these great wide receivers. And the Chiefs waxed them.
It was a bad game.
The Chiefs waxed them. This can't be the Browns. The Browns are going into Arrowhead. This is almost a playoff game, week one. Like, we've had a whole summer of hype about the Browns. You cannot get waxed in this game. And I don't think they will be. You mentioned Clowney and Garrett. I think those are huge. There's such an overhaul of the defense of new blood and new talent. And some of the lesser-known guys are going to play a huge deal. The two rookies, I think, are both going to make a major impact in Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoah. Kay and I both picked him as our Defensive Rookie of the Year yesterday.
Their guy.
Greg Newsome was taken even before him. But the guy I want to talk about is that last one in the second column, John Johnson III. John Johnson III was a captain on the LA Rams team that had Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald on defense. John Johnson III was basically the center fielder and the signal caller for that Rams defense in that defensive backfield that Aubrey Pleasant coached so well over the last few years. He's not a household name, but I'll tell you, when they opened SoFi last year, the Rams had to pick a couple ambassadors to show fans and media. Like, it was no question. Like, we're going with John Johnson. He's one of our best communicators. He was a free agent, and Cleveland rushed to sign John Johnson III. Why? Because he is your defensive leader in the backfield. He sees it all. He is your center fielder. So often we go towards the pass rush and we go towards the safeties. I think this might be the biggest addition for them. That guy right there is going to play a huge role, especially when things are coming a million miles per hour against Kansas City, in Arrowhead. Who's going to be the calming force who has been in big games and who picked off Drew Brees in an NFC Championship game and ensured that the Rams are going to go to the Super Bowl? It was John Johnson III.
That was the one in overtime? That was him?
He was the guy who made the interception.
Oh, that's cool.
And Peter, and he played in the NFC West. He understands RPOs. He understands moving quarterbacks. He's got Lamar Jackson. That's why they rushed to sign him. He's the communicator on the back end with all the RPOs and read option. Great pickup by Cleveland.
We've done the show for so many years, and Triggs and I are always sort of on the outside of the Browns conversation, just like they're building, they're getting it going, they're making it happen. And now I find that you and I are like leading the charge here.
They're great.
On the Browns. We haven't like even talked about it so much off camera, but I can just tell. And when I was with the Chiefs during the preseason, a lot of it, you know, because it's preseason, what are we going to talk about, was this week one matchup. So it was a lot of, for me personally, looking back at that playoff game. And when I think of that game, I just think Travis Kelce. He torched this team, this Browns secondary, 109 yards. They had no answer for him. Enter JOK. This is why I did such a deep dive on JOK and why I was so comfortable, Triggs, picking him as my Defensive Rookie of the Year, because he's the type. He's this ultra athletic guy out of Notre Dame, and the only time that we saw a team limit what Kelce can do was when we had really athletic guys like Devin White, Levante David, keeping him from making a game-breaking play in the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that that's a lot to put on a rookie to say, hey, be Levante. I'm not saying that.
I'm shook about this.
But you can't tell me that. You can't tell me he's not the type that can sort of help this secondary and reform them to sort of stifle a guy like Travis Kelce. That's a specific matchup I'm looking at week one. No, you're not into this?
No, but I'm fascinated by the interest. It's a second-round rookie. It's a promising athletic player.
Yeah.
Because Peter's on him and you're on him. Did you guys meet him or something? Were you taken by his personality? What is the fascination?
Because because I just looked at the playoff game, and I mean, Travis Kelce
Yeah.
went half the game without Patrick Mahomes and still did whatever he wanted to.
Henry,
And I just feel like I'm at a point with this Browns team, especially with defensively, where they figured it out. There's no holes in the defense. They figured out, like, how are we going to address this? I think they similarly looked and were like, it's kind of like what Green Bay would do with the secondary. They, you know, that Kevin King thing happened, like, well, let's draft a corner. It's just the way it works. So to me, he just fits the bill of someone who can do it. And he is that ultra athletic guy
ultra athletic,
that can do it.
and he's positionless. You can play him
That's the
almost
thing.
anywhere.
Okay.
That's what makes him
He's
so valuable.
225 pounds. He's like Patrick Queen, or like you mentioned, Devin White. We can roam him all over. And he's the next generation of linebacker, where he looks like a safety, but he could be outside, he could be inside, he's everywhere. And I think he's going to play a huge role on the team this season.
Bring back the fullbacks. These little
Let's go.
linebackers.
Change, they
Never
come back.
thought I'd see it.